Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Jack Tarleton, Programs and Events Manager with the Producers Guild. It is my pleasure to introduce today's conversation with the creative team behind RuPaul's Drag Race. Our session will be moderated by Jazz Tenkei, Senior Artisans Editor at Variety. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. Take it away, Jazz.
Thank you so much, Jack, and thank you to everybody tuning in. I am Jazz Tankey, Senior Artisans Editor of Variety, and so excited to be here for today's conversation on RuPaul's Drag Race. So let me introduce our panelists. With us, we have Executive Producer Mandy Salangsang and Executive Producer Tom Campbell. Hello, and welcome to you both.
Hi, thank you.
Oh, good to see you, Jazz.
Always good to see you and talk all things Drag Race. I have to congratulate you and the entire team on another successful, incredible season. I mean, I think the perpetual question is, how do you do it? Like, season 16, highest rated series premiere in 6 years, and you're like, yeah, I mean, talk about that. Like when you see that story and you're like, wait, people love the show.
It's mind-blowing. And there's not one factor that makes Drag Race, like, I think popular. It's many factors. From my point of view, I won't drag Mandy down with me, but I love my job. I come to it with such enthusiasm. We think about it all year long. And I think if anything, we kind of like a car, we strip it down every year, look at the parts and decide how to put it back together again and make something that's better, that's different, that's faster, that's funnier. I've said this before, a lot of our team has been on year after year. Mandy's been on, I don't know how long, I've been on since the beginning. And by having that kind of return rate, it allows us to learn from our mistakes. Not that we ever make mistakes, Jazz, but we are always fine tuning the machine. So that's the production part. And yeah, we make a great machine, we make a great show, but there was a time, we started this 16 seasons ago, 16 years ago. And we're like, how many, and people were sort of like questioning us. We didn't have the answer, we bluffed, but like, how many seasons of drag queens are there? And it's like, it turns out there's quite a few, and if anything, Drag Race has now, been around for the majority of a lot of our contestants' lives. So it's the queens this year were outstanding, just outstanding. And of course, and I'm talking too much, but RuPaul, our judges, the enthusiasm that our guest judges come with. I mean, it all just comes together, for this incredibly magical thing that brings, I'd like to think, it brings me joy. I'd like to think it brings people who watch it joy. And I don't know if you're reading the paper or looking at the news, but we all could use a little bit more joy. And the Queens of Drag Race deliver that.
Yeah. Mandy, did you want to add to that?
I think just to further drive home Tom's point about how much we all enjoy doing it and how much we enjoy continuing to challenge ourselves to up the ante, to try something new, to try to take all that is evolving about pop culture more broadly, and of course drag culture more specifically, and infuse all of that excitement into the show. And then of course the queens and whether they are, as was the case this season, veteran queens who bring just this wealth of knowledge and experience and tradition with them, and then these queens whose references frankly are Drag Race, who grew up doing and being around and being exposed to Drag Race and seeing how those worlds blend, and all the colorful sort of play we all do together. It's just so exciting for us. And I think that maybe that's a piece of what makes it exciting for viewers,
And, this all comes from RuPaul, who in his own life, his own unique personality, brand, stardom, is he demands excellence on one hand, and he doesn't take life too seriously on the other. And it's a weird juxtaposition, but it works.
Yeah. I love that. Every time there's a new Drag Race, iteration, whether it's, the main show or like All Stars, it's so exciting to tune in and see like what the queens are doing. But something that I really loved with season 16 was just, and this is to your point, Tom, of like how much change you went within season 16. Because I feel like structurally you had there was like so much, which is always a risk, but it totally worked. Whether you had like the Raider Queen or like the lip sync Lala Perusa, which has been SmackDown, which has been done before, but also brought in. I mean, talk about those risks, right? You're like, well, they've worked, but we're gonna change something. And there's that old saying, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. So
it's the
talk about
fine tuning, right? Because we're not a mean reality show. If anything, don't tell anyone. We're this platform to celebrate the art of drag and to feature these queer artists. That's really what we're doing. And everyone who leaves, and this season especially, the queens were so strong. From the first person out, the second person out the door, they're stars, and they have careers. With the Raider Queen, how do you get the queens to sort of let their guard down? One of the challenges now a little bit is because the show's so familiar, a lot of queens come and they want to play a role, or they think they're supposed to act a certain way. They're not doing anything wrong, but they just sort of come with the knowledge. So the Raider Queen, them sort of, we live in an age of Yelp and Uber rating. It's like, what if the queens for the first couple of episodes rate each other? And that really, I think, broke the ice, and just really got everybody, taking it seriously, taking the competition seriously. And then also just the Lollapalooza was, instead of a reunion, and listen, we might do a reunion again, but reunions can sometimes dredge up the past in the most positive way. And if anything, with social media, all of these little tiffs and, these are not Drake kind of grudges, they're little ones, but they play out online. It's all season long. So by the time for us, the reunion comes along, we feel like that's water under the bridge. So what we attempted to do, which worked, and again, the drag gods were on our side, was to keep the competition going to the very end. Sometimes it feels like the show ends, and then we sort of take a moment to celebrate the queens, and then we crown a winner. This season, and again, it was because of the queens and the fierceness of them, but not until the end of that lip sync in the grand finale did I know who was going to win. It was, and I think that really, people loved them to begin with, and then it was just so much rooting factor, and everyone, all of our top three were fantastic.
Yeah. It was an incredible top three, and Nymphia win, highlighting Taiwanese drag was so incredible. But something that this show has, and you've said this, you've touched on this a little bit, is like from the very beginning we fall in love with the queen. And so when somebody's eliminated in that first, early on, you're like, oh my gosh, I wish I'd seen more of them. But it's their stories too. The more we learn about their personal stories, and then we're watching their incredible, drag, their art and what they bring to it. How do you balance this? How do you balance that of like, we are telling stories of these queens, their personal stories, and then we're also giving you entertainment and bringing you the art of drag? Like,
Mandy, take it away.
Well, it's so interesting how far drag reaches, right? And our casts are so diverse. There are, again, the queens who have seasoned queens with long careers who've been doing drag for a long time, and the younger queens who are just coming into it, and queens who are from the East Coast or the West Coast, or from pageant, or who consider themselves fashion or comedy queens. Everybody is kind of connected by this thing called drag, and however they serve it is their particular, what makes them unique and special performers. But what is equally as special is the diverse and colorful stories that they bring, their backgrounds that that each of them, comes into the workroom with, and so graciously share with each other in this, really unique environment where they've got these sisters in this competition who can relate on many levels, and who are being exposed to other things for the first time in some cases, but a safe space for them to truly be themselves, share their stories, and feel comfortable doing so. And I think it all is obviously with in the background of the challenge that they're all striving so passionately to, you know, to be America's Next Drag Superstar, but in doing so, it brings out in them this vulnerability and the ability that this platform gives them to share with one another is pretty unique, I think.
And that notion that, you know, you get the most avant-garde kind of fashions in the world happening on one hand, and there's these deep stories, that's authentic to drag. You know what I'm saying? We've tapped into a subculture, and thank you MTV and Chris McCarthy and everyone we work with who leave the show alone, let the show be authentic. No one's telling us to be this or be that. And you know, Jazz, you know, Randy Barbado and Fenton Bailey from World of Wonder, who are our bosses and also executive producers of the show. It's like the World of Wonder's entire existence has been about Randy and Fenton being sort of on the forefront of telling queer stories before we called them queer stories, you know, when there was much less letters in the LGBTQ plus alphabet, but just always just seeing, not just telling the stories, but celebrating the stories of queer people. And I think, again, when you tap into drag, you get the beauty, you get the drama, you get the heart. It just comes in the package. All we have to do is when we figured out a kind of clever, kind of simple way to, you know, this drag race thing, but that's the magic. It's those queens. I keep nailing on the same thing. It's true.
True.
I love how the show has grown. Like, you know, drag is now mainstream culture. The show is a global phenomenon, but we also live in a world where our community is under attack, and not just here, around the world. You know, talk about, like, you know, this season you had the song Power written by Leland and Freddie Scott. You know, talk about the messaging of that and just the messaging of the show and how it reaches that queer kid in some small town in America where, you know, they might feel alone, and you know, the messaging of the show and the song reaches them.
We try very hard not to be blatantly political. At the same time, RuPaul will say, and we've learned from him, that every time I bat my false eyelashes, I'm making a political statement. So just by, you know, RuPaul also says, anyone who leaves their house in a pussycat wig and a pair of cha-cha heels is my hero. Just, you know, these are not subtle choices. These are not safe choices. These people are not blending in. They are making a statement. They are taking on a patriarchal kind of world that says little boys should do this and little girls should do that. And drag says, use all of, you know, all the colors in the crayon box. So we never want to be preachy, never want to take ourselves too seriously. So even when you mentioned that song Power, which was our big, you know, we end each episode during election years, including midterm elections and presidential elections, with, you know, reminding everyone to register to vote at vote.gov. Vote.gov, it's very easy. But we do that because, and we used to argue about it once, where like, I said, we need to do it because it needs to be part of the fun of Drag Race. People need to think voting, drag, you know, it's like, it's part of our pop culture. It doesn't have to be this grungy little thing. And Ru said, we want to do a song about getting to vote. And Ru's like, do not make, no one wants to vote. You know, no one wants to be told to vote. And so we gave that, you know, we said, he goes, you have to make them want to feel it. And so we gave that assignment to Brett and to Freddie, and they came up with I Got the Power, which was just, and, you know, Jamal choreographed it amazing. And it was one of my favorite songs we've ever done. And it is about, you know, exerting your power with the underlying, you know, message of being, you know, vote. So there's all that. You can talk about the kids at home, Mandy, and what you think they get out of our show. I don't know. I'm talking too much. I'm trying to.
No,
I
feel the same way.
Edit.
Well, you know, it's one of those challenges also, Jazz, where the queens get to write their own verses, right? So we've got this amazing song that sounded fabulous and this killer chorus and you know, great message. But then the queens really, really take to heart this opportunity to deliver a message that reaches people who are just like they were. They feel that inside. They know how to speak that language, and they, in particular with this challenge, they felt so empowered by the opportunity to do so. So it was like Tom said, one of my favorites as well. You know, from the moment that they got the assignment, the writing of their lyrics, the singing of the vocals, which is fun and challenging and scary at times for people, and overcoming that. And then Jamal and the choreography, it was, you know.
We'll show Jamal, like, here's a multi-million-dollar production at the MTV Video Music Awards. Can we do it tomorrow for like 10 cents? And and we do. And Gus, by the way, our lighting director, Nick, our director, everyone comes together and makes something magical. I just want to say, because you had a multi-point question, so I'm going to give you a multi-point answer. But I kind of bristle with love when people say we have gone mainstream, because in some ways we are on the same channel, MTV, as Jersey's. You know, like we are in the mix, and that's true, and I don't deny it. I'm very grateful. But drag, I sound like a scaredy cat, but I feel like drag is something that could be, as we can see in legislation, it's an easy target. You know, the more visibility they have, the more danger potentially we have of being shut down or misunderstood. So I am so grateful every season we're renewed. And it happened since the beginning. You know, I always talk about this. We started on Logo, which was the last network on the planet. You know, it was like but they had us, and we were able to grow the show there and nurture it, and have had support from Viacom, Paramount ever since. But you know, and you know, it's corny. I'm of a different era, but like if I could have seen queer people again being celebrated, making me laugh, making me feel, making me laugh, making me cry as a kid, it would have been a whole different game. And I'm not saying people still don't go through hardships, but just knowing that your people out there. Rube will say that the way he felt when we used to watch the Match Game after school, if you're a certain age, or Hollywood Squares with Paul Lynde or Charles Nelson Crowley, it's like he said, you know, we had to do it in code, right? They weren't openly gay, but we're like, Rube's like, I want to be at that cocktail party. I want to be standing next to, you know, those people. And so that's kind of what we provide, that there's a place for everybody.
Yeah, I love that. Power actually features in the Work the World episode, which is based on, you know, another concept by the World of Wonder team. Talk about the idea of bringing Work the World into the season as an episode, and that idea of just, you know, you can write a song and it's going to appear in, you know, on the Work the World tour. Like, who came up with that idea?
Well, there's an executive at VH1 years ago, Jeff Old, who introduced me to the idea of using, and Randy and Fenton, all of us, to use all the parts of the chicken. Which I think is beautiful. And it's just this idea, because of the success of Drag Race and because of Randy and Fenton's bravery and willing to take financial risks and to be entrepreneurial, you know, we do have, you know, the Work the World tour, which is an offshoot of this. You know, and it allows the queens to have a safe place to perform and to be in a group. We have Las Vegas, you know, we have RuPaul's Drag Race Live in Vegas. You know, there's, you know, the Wow Presents Plus channel. These are all offshoots of Drag Race, and you know, again, it's success, it's wonderful, but it's a, you know, in a world of streamers, and I love, you know, I'm not critical of where we're going, it's the future, but you know, to have a place that isn't about the majority algorithm, but is a safe place for queer voices. So you know, I think, you know, the people who Work the World were like, you know, we've worked with them before, and it's like, but we again, thinking better maybe this year, it's like, let's make the song a song that can go on the road. So, and you know, it being an election year, it seemed like a great marriage of ideas and resources.
Yeah. I love moments where, you know, you have a lip sync and Mirage doesn't know the words to Dark Lady. You're like, who doesn't know that? Like, what is that like as a producer to just be like, wait, what are we watching? And then I'm gonna fast forward to the end, and you have Nymphia performing, like, you know, their first lip sync, and just it's like black and white, right? Just blowing the roof off with this incredible boba tea drag, and you're like, wait, what is that? Oh, talk about those, you know, those two moments as producers.
Well, with Mirage, you know, obviously, when the bottom two are, you know, have to stand on that stage and face a lip sync for their life, you know, our hearts are, we're on the edge of our seats always, and our hearts go out to each of them. We want nothing but for them both to succeed and do the very, very best, regardless of who Shantae's and who Sashae's, for them to leave knowing they've left everything they had on that stage. So to see someone like Mirage in that moment, not deliver what I think she knew she was capable of. Had she done her homework a little more, had she not had the let the nerves get the better of her in the competition, was truly heartbreaking. I mean, absolutely heartbreaking. But we do find reassurance in knowing and reminding people like her that just being here on Drag Race is a win for them. And, and that's what, to go back to what you mentioned earlier about the Lollapalooza, was so exciting about being able to do that with our previously eliminated queens this season. Because to your point earlier, so many of them leave with so much more to give and so much more we want to see from them. So to keep that competition alive for them as well, and to see them up on that, finale stage for all intents and purposes, under those lights in their fabulous drag, back to sort of right the wrongs of the past, was a really, really powerful moment for us this season. And so she went out there and she killed it then.
And RuPaul, we're lucky because we have RuPaul, and RuPaul makes all the final decisions, and he's very opinionated. And and it's a benevolent monarchy, but it makes it easy for us. But when the lip sync happens, whether it's the Mirage one that went awry, or it's the lip sync for your crown at the end, we are in the booth and we're ripping off our headphones. So I don't want the music playing in one ear and playing through the, and we watch like we're in the audience. We are screaming and yelling and so happy. And then we're like, Ru, who won? And he sort of, and then he's like announces it to the world. So it's part of, it's all ties together, but it's part of how we love our jobs. It's like we're in the front row of this incredible thing. And the lip sync for your life, which was sort of conceived a little bit as a joke, a little tongue in cheek, is one of the most compelling things. I love a lip sync. I've said this before, but it's like, of course artists are amazing and we couldn't do it without artists, but there's something about drag queens embodying a song, take to the next level, the athleticism, that's just, it is a separate art form. And you can mock me for saying that, but I think it is. And whether it's and in that pressure moment, oh, forget the lyrics. Although every time something goes wrong, it makes the show more interesting. And I mean, every time as a producer, I want it to go perfectly. Like, know your lyrics, do your thing. But when something goes wrong, somebody learns from it, somebody relates. We've all, that feeling, I have it every day.
There was a point to that question. What is it like having a show that every week trends on Twitter because your fans are so passionate and engaged and involved? Like, what does that mean to you?
It's incredible.
Real, yeah.
Before, years ago, when Max Mushnick was on, I think episode 4, season 4, and he did the not keep those nuts away from my face, and it aired. This is when it was on Logo, and Twitter wasn't a huge thing yet. And he got a call from a friend who was in Vietnam the next day and said, "I saw you on Drag Race last night, and you were great." Somehow, this is before it's like through the internet, through gay people, like Drag Race is an idea that's bubbled up, and I love the enthusiasm, and I love that. It's not just queer people. We have a huge female audience and male audience, but like that everyone finds themselves. That's the nice thing about social media. Social media can have a really crummy side, but the fact that on Friday from 8 until midnight, we are, up there with the WWE or F, whatever it is now, wrestling, is quite remarkable. I also love it because it's a focus group. I am scrolling through, I'm on the West Coast. So when I watch the East Coast feed on Twitter, and you get the best, and again, that's that feedback that goes in. It's like, oh, people didn't like that, they like that, they came around to that. But it's super powerful to know that the world is watching and we're kind of watching together.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was going to say, is that it still feels, even when you see how very many people all around the world are watching, it still feels like community, if that makes sense, because I'm watching that Friday night at the bar, which it's just, or wherever, it's just such a special thing to be able to go and be in a place where people are experiencing it live together. But you have that sense of community, I think, even through the interwebs, that like, wow, all these people are living this moment, are watching Nymphia's bobo bubbles fly up in the air, or whatever it may be. And so for me, yeah, very surreal and kind of, in awe of it.
And I get very delicate sometimes because, I'm a soft soul, and people make criticisms, but you realize if they didn't care, they wouldn't be saying those things. Saying that people are invested. And I've also come to the conclusion that any decision on Drag Race has to, like, it splits our team. You know, everyone's like, no, she should stay. No, she should go. So we're all, we're like fans of the show as well.
Yeah. I want to go back to the queens because again, yes, Rue and the judges and your guest judges, make the show, but it really is the queens, and it's a testament to your casting, to the tapes that you watch. How do when you hear these stories, whether it's somebody being a DACA recipient or like, being HIV positive, that's stuff that doesn't come up in the audition or like, when you're sitting down with them, when you're hearing those stories, talk about what that's like when you hear that from the queens and how that resonates with you, with the audiences, and just keeping that authenticity in as they reveal more about themselves, I guess. That
I mean, we talk about the jumping around and laughing, and we cry too, and we tear up, and we're moved. No, we're deeply moved by the things that happen. And the only thing I like, again, I'm only the tiny bit of responsibility we have as producers is that we have, through the grace of everything, but like created a platform that's a safe space where these queens come on, surrounded by their sisters. They know how we've dealt with this in the past, and they feel like it's a safe place to share these things. And that's really what their stories choked me up the most, but just the idea of like, wow, like, cause they get deep fast. And, being on I've done everything on the show, but compete. And it must be a surreal experience. And also I think, I know it's hard work, but it's also, it's this surreal queer bubble that they get to live in, for 2, 3, 4 weeks. And with people that, again, they may be totally different, but they share something in common. And even the experience of going through and being a Rue girl, which we talk about, but like it means something to them, and that it's a safe place for them to talk, warms my heart. And yeah, they come, we're almost like 4 generations. It's like, I think we're like boomer, Gen X, millennial, and these queens are Gen Z, and they come to us with the expressions, they come to us with the issues, and again, authenticity is another word I'll keep saying because it's true.
Yeah. And you feel that watching the show. Okay, last question. How do you decide, like, this is what we're going to do next with the franchise? We're going to have this show, or we're going to have this spin-off, or we're going to go for global domination and be in this country, like, or like DragCon in, and I know you've got London and America, you might do DragCon Asia next. Like, talk about coming up with those ideas. And
I mean, when we first sold the show, we thought it was going to be a shoo-in to be on a big network. It wasn't. When it was a hit on Logo, Fenton Bailey went around the world, as he does, to sell it to the UK, all this place, and people were reluctant. And just over time, people have caught up. The UK thing came because Fenton, put Fenton Bailey in a plane and talk to him in a week, and he will have like locked up 3 territories. He knows everyone. He's it's a winning proposition, whether it's Thailand or UK or Down Under. World of Wonder owns the show, which is amazing these days, and is able to craft these deals and make it happen. And I have to say, and I'm not just buttering up, but all the time now Paramount, but Chris McCarthy has taken us everywhere he's gone. It's like he was at Logo, then he took over VH1, he brought us with him. Then he went to MTV, he brought us with him. But the global things we're doing are a response to the global marketplace, and our partners at Paramount saying, hey, let's try this. So I can't tell you what it's so easy. We see it like, no names, but they're canceling movies that are multi-billion-dollar movies that are fully complete. I don't feel safe today, and I don't feel paranoid, but I don't feel safe. And I think that's why, to me, the Emmys mean so much, not because, we're Emmy Award winners, but like anything we can do. And when big stars and all the different stars come on our show, they are allies. And the Emmys in some ways are an ally. They're just saying, yes, we see what we're doing. We support you. We support queer stories, and it means the world to us.
last words, Mandy.
Oh, I feel I've probably said them all. I mean, uh, yeah, there's nothing more to add, really, just how incredibly blessed we feel, how proud I am and inspired I am to come to work every day, to work with these, brilliant colleagues, brilliant, passionate, creative people, and then just to be able to, but one of the most fun things I do in my role as executive producer is, yes, participating in the casting, but when we are able to reach out to a queen and let them know, now's your time, you've been cast, and to see what that means for them in the trajectory of, yes, their careers, but also in their sort of coming of age, and bringing them all together and seeing them all together in a cast on day one and back again for the finale. I just feel so lucky to be a part of it. Again, I'll knock on wood too, Tom, for so many years. So proud of what we do, and hope that we just continue to have opportunities to do it again and again and again and again.
And to decide what to do creatively, you have to make Randy laugh, you have to make Fenton laugh, you have to make Stephen Korff laugh, you have to make Mandy laugh, you have to make me laugh, you have to make John Pauly laugh, you have to make Priscilla laugh, and then you have to make RuPaul laugh. So it's sort of, we have a very thorough vetting system for every idea.
Yes.
Love it. Tom, Mandy, I want to thank you so much for that incredible conversation, and congratulations as always on all things Drag Race. And thank you to the Producers Guild for that conversation too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.